My name is Jesus Villaseñor. I am an advocate for Pacer Center and I work with mainly Latino families. Together with Hassan Samantar, who is an advocate that works with the Somali community, and Dao Shong, that works with the Hmong community, we are trying to offer you some tips for professionals working with families that have children with disabilities in early childhood. We understand that it's especially challenging for professionals to work with families that are linguistically or culturally diverse. First, it's very important to count with an interpreter that will be bilingual and bicultural. It's important that it's bicultural because they will help you to navigate the cultural differences that you may have with the families. They will warn you when you're walking on thin ice, and they will advise you on best ways to approach a situation. It is very important that you have a pre-meeting with the interpreter and go through the situations or the information that you are going to convey or what you want to get from the families. Also, to explain some terms that the interpreter may not be familiar with, and just to be more in agreement with each other. It is also very important, if possible, to have a post-meeting, like a debriefing meeting with the interpreter to see what worked and what didn't work. I heard of an interpreter that was having some difficulties with the team that she was working with, especially with the teacher, because it was presented with a situation that had not been spoken. The teacher finally spoke clearly to the interpreter and explained that she felt that the interpreter was spending too much time talking to the parents, and that was taking time from her to work with the child. The interpreter mentioned that the mom was eager to socialize with the interpreter, and she felt that in doing that, she was presenting a more familiar and more comfortable situation. So they got to an agreement where they decided that the interpreter was going to spend just 5 minutes greeting the mom and the family, and then she would go and sit down on the floor together with the teacher and the child. And that way, that would send the message to mom that it was time to work. It's very easy for families of early childhood, have children with disabilities in early childhood, to get overwhelmed with working with professionals. Mostly these families recently just got the diagnosis of a disability, and they are just in the process of digesting and going through the bunch of information that is presented to them. So one advice is just when you're doing a home visit, make sure that you introduce all the members of the team. Explain who they are, their names, and their roles. It's very important that the parents know exactly to whom they are dealing with. I remember a call from a mom that called frantically saying, "Mr. Villaseñor, I have a bunch of people here in my home. I don't know who they are and what they are doing here." And what happened is that the interpreter was a little late, and the team didn't have time to wait for the interpreter, and they decided to just knock at the door and go at it. And well, obviously that is not best practice. The mom was worried, was a little scared, and didn't know what to do with all these people. Also, there may be times when 2 or 3 groups of professionals may coincide at the same time with the same family. So in that case, consider rescheduling, because if it's too many people, it's not just going to be a good time for the 3 teams to meet with the family. And so they would be overwhelmed and it wouldn't work out. It's very important that the issue of confidentiality gets explained to the families so that they know that that information is going to stay there, or what they are going to, the professionals will do with that information. I don't have to tell you that there's a lot of fear especially in the Latino community about immigration issues, or because of the current political situation in the country. So it is important that you can try to put them at ease as possible in working with you, in knowing that their information will keep private.
As Jesus mentioned, a third tip could be understanding the cultural differences. It is important to be aware of cultural norms, especially when visiting a family home. Following the basic customs, such as removing your shoes if everyone else does, it's very important. I've had incidents where professionals were not comfortable removing their shoes, and please understand that at the living room of the house, it might be where families use for prayers, and it's a faith-based, is not only the custom. In establishing good positives, such as if families offer a drink or a food, accepting it, whether to accept or not, also to consider and be polite about it. Understand that the family home may be busy with multiple children or extended family. Be flexible with the meeting environment as well.
When it comes to education, many Hmong parents, for example, may view that education is school responsibility, and because the child is too young for it. If you ask, what type of services do you want for your child? They may not feel comfortable or know what to tell you. In my experience working with Hmong family, they would like you to tell them what type of services you are going to provide for the child. Explaining the early childhood system to parents is very helpful, so that they know what to expect when a referral is made and evaluation is proposed. Also, explain what service coordination is. If the child has language delay, for example, explain what services are going to provide and what parent can expect. Understanding the early childhood process and advocating for their child are two different things. It is more challenging for parents to participate in developing goals for the child. So, provide ongoing support and build partnership with parents that they are an important part of the team. They will make decisions about services the child will receive, and they will always be there as a lifelong advocate for the child while professionals come and go.
And another tip is to have high expectations. Parents want to know that professionals know and like their children. Open the discussion with the positive comments about their children's strengths. Understand that in some cultures, children with disabilities are not expected to become independent adults. Help families maintain high expectations for their young children while considering the family's questions and also goals. In general, the tips for engaging with the diverse families are the same as those that work with establish a positive relationship with all families. There are always culture within a culture. So not all families from the same background will share every communication style or preferences. However, being intentional about establishing a trusting relationship is always beneficial to improving outcomes for children, for young children, especially with the disabilities.